How did you get into Google from a tier 3 college? What was your journey like?
It was a long journey actually. It was not a direct jump. I think it just happened. It evolved. First I did my BTech, then I went to my masters, and then I actually had stint at couple of startups. Post which actually Google happened. So yeah, so I think it's my journey that led me there, step by step.
So this video is going to revolve around students who are from tier 3 colleges and want to get into these FAANG companies, right? What importance did you give to DSA and how did you prepare DSA?
So yeah, anyone who wants to get into FAANG companies, be it a fresher, be it an experience, I think a common misconception is that hey, I am experienced and do I need DSA? So anyone, actually DSA is super important. You have to get your basics right, from understanding what data structures are, where to use them, to complexity analysis, because I'm calling it out very explicitly because this is something
Right.
I feel that is very important. So yeah, I think it's not negotiable. It has to be there. So DSA is kind of basics. You should be very thorough with basics. I think DSA is never about uh, grabbing things and like just memorizing things,
Right.
etc. You have to understand things and then you have to work towards it. So yeah, so I think getting your basics right is super important. I don't think anyone can directly jump to hard level. I think everyone just wants to reach there and just rush to it. I don't think that's possible. I think step by step, starting from very basics to eventually improving yourself is super important.
So with your time at coding blocks and coding ninjas, what did you feel that where do students fail very often when they start DSA?
So honestly, a very basic mistake, which I feel is the right set of motivation. Job is ultimately the end goal for most of us. I agree, and I'm not denying that. But if you are, hey, I'm learning arrays because it is asked in interviews. Now I'm moving to linked list because it is asked in interviews. If
Right.
you're gonna do it at every step, it's not gonna help you at all. And I think once you get into it, you start enjoying it. So most of the people who get through are the ones who enjoy doing it
Right.
and are the ones who are thorough with their basics, because eventually when it comes to FANG, you cannot literally fool people out there who are interviewing you. They know that you have your concepts right or not. So I think yeah, the key problem lies there. Obviously there are more steps to it. Once you have made your mind that I'm going to do it, then there are steps how you should approach it. So there are things after that, but I think the basic intent is something that I really want to stress on. That's super important.
Right. You mentioned that DSA is non-negotiable if you want to get into good companies as software engineer. So what is the right way or the right approach to learn DSA?
First of all, have the right mindset to deal
Right.
with it. And by deal with it, I mean that most of the people who start, they feel that, they are gonna nail it in very first time. And they end up comparing themselves with a lot of their peers. And that just adds to the pressure. So,
Right.
so the right way is to understand your pace, to work enough. See, there is a problem. There might be people who do it in 5 minutes. There might be people who do it in 1 hour. Does not matter, to be honest. I myself don't consider myself as super smart and who's gonna crack every problem at just one attempt. It can take multiple attempts, and that's completely okay. Not just DSA actually. Another thing that I want to highlight is OOPS concepts. I personally feel they are also very important. Uh, Many a times interview questions, the interviewers tend to evolve your object-oriented programming knowledge also, right? So the question might be a DSA question, but you are expected to wrap it around and solve it in an object-oriented way.
Right. Do you think the language which we choose, like Java, C++, Python, that can also play a role in our future, like for the 4 years of college life?
I personally am slightly biased towards Java. I just like Java more. So if someone asks me, I say, hey, start with Java. I think Java, I personally feel is the right balance, where you get to understand the references and like concepts like these, and you have enough abstraction to be able to have right set of features to work on. But I don't think so. There is any bias, interviewer
Right.
level bias or any sort of bias that ways. But yeah, I think any language helps. Later, I'll suggest learn a language in a way that shifting to a newer language should not take a lot of
Right.
time. See, trust me, as a software engineer, you can never fix one language and just stick to it to your entire life. That's not going to happen for sure, right? So you have to just understand that, hey, this thing happens like this in C++, and
Right.
in Java, this is not the syntax. It is called reference. It's not called pointer. It's called reference. That's it, right? So Python, there is another layer added. So I think that's it. So you just have to pick a language, just get started, and open to adapt to new languages. That's it.
And what do you feel should be the balance between DSA and development, making projects? How can a college student manage that thing?
So I think most of the college students, I think you have enough time here. I just feel that we can phase it. As I said, if you're starting, focus first 3 to 4 months on DSA itself, and then move to development. And post that, I think the bigger mistake that people do is when they move to development, they lose their touch with DSA.
Right.
Anyone who loses their touch with DSA is gonna struggle when you have to come back. So you should be solving one problem a day or two problem a day or doing something along the run. You should do that. But for startups, when it comes to that, I think it's not only DSA, it's DSA plus what you have worked
Right.
on, your projects, your languages that you have learned, that also add value. And in fact, for product-based companies, what you once you get through, right, uh, most of the DSA knowledge is not directly applied.
Right.
So it's your development knowledge that you end up using. So that helps. So I don't think development is sidelined at all. When I said DSA is non-negotiable, it does not mean that you don't have to do development, but you should phase it. You should plan it sequentially. I feel if you have enough time. Strategy depends on which stage you are. If you are in 1 year, first
Right.
year, second year of your college, you have more than enough time, right? So I'll suggest start with DSA only. 3 4 months, not too much, but then you can shift gears to a new, development side of it. But you can face it.
Let's say I'm in a tier 3 college and I want to get an off campus placement in a FAANG company. So, starting from first year, what should be my approach to learning things, and how can I best position myself that after the end of 4 years, I have a good off campus placement in my hand?
Yeah, one thing personally I feel, there is too much pressure on this placement and FANG, and yaar, matlab, I did not grow up in that environment. Even in my college, I was very chilled out, honestly. So first thing is, I agree. Don't stress yourself too much. I feel, and I know this is going sideline and this is a general gyan, but I feel this is missing. You will find many people telling you what to do
Right.
and what not to do in DSA, but not many people will tell you it's okay if you're failing. You are eventually gonna find your way, and by failing, I do not mean literally failing. I mean
Right.
you're struggling with getting
Yeah.
things done, right? So I feel you will eventually find your way. So if you are in first year, please relax a bit also, because you are new to college. You have to
Right.
adopt a lot of things in the college. You have to adopt to a new culture of education, how things work. So just take your time to adjust. Don't pressurize, because that pressure is something that never helps. I think that's the key reason people fail. I
Right.
feel because they don't, because they feel it's very bad to fail. If I have failed an interview, if I failed something, things are gonna end for me. It's not gonna happen. Fighter is someone who goes. If I have to hire someone, I'll rather hire a hardworking person who's willing to give all in, rather than someone who is like, oh wow, he's very proud of it and I raised everything, and he's super super overconfident. So I think the approach will be that you make sure that you're doing a lot of internships. You have the right set of projects because they are important. And you just try to it. Another thing that I encourage people doing it is create projects. Learn GitHub, put your projects on GitHub. That also adds as a proof of what you have done.
Right.
Because if you are hosting your website, let's say if you have published your app on Play Store, you have some sort of downloads and your people are using it, that's another set of validation that you have done something good. If you are putting it on GitHub, that's another set of maybe proof that hey, you have been able to do that. If you're hosting it, that's another way altogether good. So I think these are steps, minor steps to take to polish yourself overall, and that's going to help entire journey. Don't forget DSA. Keep
Right.
solving one or two problems a day. So that's something that's there.
That's a very interesting point you mentioned, that look at your resume and reverse engineer what gaps do you find. So, according to you, what are resume worthy projects, firstly, and what internships are resume worthy? Because nowadays, there's a lot of internships wherein you get certificates and you have to pay for those internships. So, what internships and what projects are resume worthy?
So not that when I said, I just meant that you are working with a team, maybe
Right,
a small startup that takes you in, right? Is not able to pay you a lot, but is able to give you an exposure, and you get to learn a lot. I think my key area is, see, there are two sides of it.
right,
One side is obviously there are a lot of step and turn programs, right?
right,
A lot of companies have internship programs, even in second year or third year. So if you try to crack one of that, that's great. So that is one thing that will help you. But if you are not able to do it, I think, or if you're not, because not everyone will get that
right,
chance or
exactly.
opportunity also. So then I think, as I said, there are a lot of startups where you can try. Even a fresh startup, which is just evolving, will help you learn faster. I think startups are really, really important for learning. To be honest,
Okay,
at my career at this stage, I would not have been as satisfied as I am had I not been part of a couple of startups, and I would not have seen that growth personally myself. So I value that a lot, and I feel that's what people should do. Go. They should not just target one company or two company. They should target their growth, because that will take you anywhere you want to. That will give you the confidence to crack, and once you have that, it's gonna take you a long way. So I think
right,
when I'm talking about internships where you are working on some project or the other, where you get to learn. I am not talking about projects which you could have done yourself, be it
right,
a small e-commerce website, be it a online hosted resume, right? Small projects like these you should make on your own. But when I'm talking about internships, my whole idea of saying that you should, hey, go and do an internship, is to get something out of it.
right. You mentioned about these step and turn programs. Now, if someone cracks one program, they're more likely to crack one after the other, right? But if someone fails to crack one, two, three, there's a flip side to it. Then they start feeling that imposter syndrome that that person has cracked all these programs and I am sitting here, cracked none. So, for if I am failing to crack all these programs or one or two programs, what can I do to stay motivated firstly and then make sure that I am learning, still learning?
Just focus on what went wrong. Try to solve your interview problem again after coming back, right? And just ensure, time track yourself. A lot of people don't practice with timer along the run, and they end up taking a lot of time in their interviews. So time track to yourself. That is going to help you objectively approach the interview. I know I'm getting into interview solving tips. I'm not sure if that's what you you wanted to ask, but I just feel if you are failing a lot of interviews, something another is wrong with the way you are approaching
Right,
it. So, which is why I just want to highlight that. So, I think how you approach the interview with the interviewer also matters.
right.
So that's how I think you should just learn from every mistake of yours that you're doing. If you are still not learning and making the same mistake again, then I think then you should reevaluate. Hey,
Right.
that's not happening. But if if you're doing everything you can, and probably there is a slight luck factor that's not favoring you, it eventually will, trust me, and things will fall in place. So don't worry, always I can say, and try as much as you can. I like, just ping 30 people for referral, 50 people for referral, apply every possible way, uh, at every possible internships. Another thing I generally feel that people can do is make a list of all the places where you want to apply, rank those places in the order of importance to you,
Okay.
and start giving interviews in the opposite rank. So if I
Interesting.
have company A as my target, right, and company F is somewhere where I'm okay, right, I can take a bet at it. So if possible, and if you can align things that way, give a company F's interview first. That will give you both exposure and confidence. If you crack it, you will have the confidence. If you fail it, you will not lose much, because you were comfortable with the idea of not getting there.
Right.
So just give interviews into the reverse order. So you should prepare a list of where all you want to apply, what all calls you have. Do it in the opposite way. I think that will also help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Manisha, for joining me here today and sharing your insights with my audience. Loved it.
Great, great. Thanks. I hope I am able to help and it adds value.